Right from wrong, give me light, make me strong. I know the road is long, make me strong.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We begin with Allah's blessed name. We praise Him, we glorify Him as He ought to be praised and glorified. And we pray for peace and for blessings on all His noble messengers, and in particular on the last of them all, the Blessed Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. I greet you, my dear audience, here from the studios of the Islamic Broadcasting Network in Trinidad and Tobago, my native Trinidad and Tobago, with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be unto you wherever you may be and you're viewing this program. I'm back home in Trinidad after my travels. It is today the 12th of March, 2017. In our Islamic calendar, it's the month of Jumadul Akhir, and I believe either tonight or tomorrow night should be the full moon, and so the month is halfway finished. Today is a special day because we have the launch of my book on methodology for the study of the Quran today at 10 o'clock at the Jama Masjid in San Fernando, Mucorapo Street in San Fernando, which is on the same street with the market in San Fernando, just a few buildings away. And I want to invite you to join me there for the launch of this book. We have advertised for 10 o'clock, but actually from 10 until 10:30, you would have a chance to view my books and to buy copies of this book, Jerusalem, at a special price. And I will be autographing the books, inshallah. And maybe around 10:30, 10:45, we will begin the program. My apologies to the viewing audience. We had a problem with the microphone, so kindly forgive us. I was talking about our program for the launch of my book, Jerusalem and, Methodology for the Study of the Quran, which will take place today at the Jama Masjid in San Fernando at 10 o'clock. And I said that from 10 to 10:30, we will have a chance to view my books and to buy books and get autograph copies, and to get to know each other. And I'd love to meet with you. Please come up to me so I can get to know you. And about 10:30, 10:45, we begin the program. And I have invited a young man, a young scholar, in order to encourage them, for tomorrow they will be the guides and the leaders and the scholars for us when we are in the grave. So a young man, a promising young scholar from Pakistan, his name is Maulana Atif Majid, and he is like a son to me. And Atif is going to have his big day today in Magog in the modern world. It's a very important subject, but very few people know anything about the subject. An Islamic view of Gog and Magog in the modern world. And this book will be on sale today. Here's my book on one Jamaat, one Amir, that how should a Muslim community be organized. It should be one single community with one leader, and he must be obeyed. This is my bestseller, Jerusalem in the Quran. Today, Jerusalem is at the center stage of world affairs. And tomorrow, the world is going to fight over Jerusalem. I think the nuclear war which is coming is because of Jerusalem. So this book helps to explain the subject from the perspective of Islam. Jerusalem in the Quran is my bestseller. Here is the religion of Abraham and the state of Israel, which looks on the subject from a comparative religion perspective. And you'll find this book also to be interesting. I hardly ever get the time to do the writing. I would like to write some more about my travels. This is a travelogue. And if you read this book, you'll step into my shoes and you'll walk with me as I travel the world in the mission of Islam. So the Islamic Travelogue is a very entertaining book to read. This is the first book I've ever written, Islam and Buddhism in the Modern World. It was written in 1971, a long, long time ago. Islam and Buddhism in the Modern World. This one is Medina returns to center stage in the end time. The Prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, is buried in Medina, and we would be very interested to see what role will Medina play in the end time. You can read this book in less than 1 hour, very small. This one is a Muslim response to the attack on America, the 9/11 attack on America, and you see, it was written 2 or 3 months after the 9/11 attack, so it's a book that's 16 years old now. This one here is the prohibition of riba. Riba being money being bought, money being lent and borrowed on interest. Usury, it is prohibited in the Bible. I don't know about the Hindu scriptures, perhaps it's also there prohibited, but it's most certainly prohibited in the Quran, and nobody knows the subject because it's not taught by anyone. The prohibition of riba in the Quran and Sunnah. This one is the Quranic method of curing alcoholism and drug addiction, but this is the first edition. I have written a second edition to this book, but it's not available in Trinidad at this time. But if you have a family member who is addicted to alcohol, you might want to read this book, How to Cure Him. This one here is Dreams in Islam, and this is the first edition of the book. I have written a second edition, which is much bigger than this, but unfortunately we don't have the second edition. There will be several books of mine which will be given free of charge today at the program. This is one of them, and you're most welcome to come and attend the program and to meet. I would like to meet with you today at the Jama Masjid in San Fernando. Bismillah. Excuse me. At 10 o'clock, 10:30, 10:45. Now then, I said to you, I have just returned from travels abroad, and I never mentioned where I went. Well, in fact, I went to Iran, I went to Switzerland, and from Switzerland to Iran to attend an Islamic conference which was organized in support of the oppressed Palestinian people. But you'll be interested to know that I was stopped and questioned and interrogated 3 times on this journey. I had to pass through Panama on my way going to Sao Paulo, to fly from Sao Paulo to Geneva, and from Geneva to Vienna, and then from Vienna to Tehran. And when I arrived in Panama, they stopped me, and I was interrogated for 2 hours. Well, then they blamed me at the end of the 2 hours, you know. They said, you could have been gone long ago, but you were the one who were chatting with us and teaching us some things and so on. It was not an aggressive, it was not a hostile interview. No, they treated me with respect, but they were fishing for information. And when you are stopped by immigration anywhere in the world, and they are interrogating you, one of the important things that you must remember is they have a job to do, and you will make it easier for them if you can cause the atmosphere to become a little cooler, not hot. They would probably want to get you terrified, get you tense, get you angry, and so on. And if you keep your cool, and if you try to break the ice, making a joke or so, then they are forced to lower the temperature. And that's what happened in Panama. I took the opportunity to start to teach them. The immigration officers in a special room, I was being fingerprinted, I was being photographed and so on. And in the end, I had them very friendly with me. After they had asked all the questions, and I answered them, of course, very honestly, I never lied to them. And I said to them, well, you know, if you want to do your job successfully, you've got to be able to see with two eyes. So they say, what two eyes are you talking about? I said, these eyes and this eye. Oh, they're Roman Catholics. So if you want to see with the internal eye, you better be careful what you eat and how you behave and so on. So what are you talking about? I said, well, Jesus never ate pork. Already? And when Jesus returns, he's not going to eat pork. If you are Christian, you better wake up, if you're eating pork. If you eat pork, you're not going to have any light inside your heart. Oh, they got scared. They got scared and they said, no, I promise me you're not going to eat pork again. And they promised me that they would not eat pork again. So it was not a hostile interview, no. They were respectful to me, and in the end they were friendly to me. But when I was on my way back to Trinidad and I again had to pass through Panama, they were waiting for me as I came out of the aircraft. And again they wanted to question me, but this time they were fishing for information on ISIS. It was not hostile, no, but there you are, I'm being questioned, I'm being interrogated. And then when I arrived in Geneva, I have been traveling to Geneva for 40-something years now. I studied in Geneva for 5 years as a student. And I've visited Geneva several times over the last few years, but this time they stopped me. And they were questioning me and again in Geneva and tried to break the ice and make them smile and so on. I said, why don't you have a beard? Is it your wife that's stopping you from having a beard and so on? So in the end, it was not a hostile confrontation. So this was my travels to Iran. I went to attend a conference, and there were too many people in the conference, about 700 people. The president of Iran came to address the conference. The supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, came. The foreign minister was there. The speaker of the House of the Majlis was there. So there was tremendous security. Even in the sky, there was security. And that created problems. So I didn't benefit much from the conference because of the size. But I got a chance to meet with scholars from different parts of the world. And from the time they see this hat, they all recognize me, so they come to meet with me. YouTube has done that. After the conference was over, I got the real important time to meet. I met with the Yaqeen Institute, which is led by Dr. Hassan Abbasi. He's perhaps the most learned scholar in Iran on the subject of monetary Islam and monetary economics. And they recognized the work that I have done, and they invited me to come and address the institute. It was a packed hall. And after I spoke, then Dr. Hassan Abbasi also spoke in Farsi, but there was some translation in English. And I realized that they had done some important work. there at that institute. Then I was taken on a trip to the city of Qom, which is about 2 hours drive from Tehran. And in Qom, I met with perhaps one of the most learned scholars of Islam in Iran, Ayatollah, what was his name? Ayatollah Jawadi Amuri, a very old man and a very high status in Iran. And I got a chance to meet with him, and I asked him for his views on money. I realized that the Ayatollah had a classical education on Islam, but he had no knowledge of modern monetary economics. And if you do not have a knowledge of modern monetary economics, you cannot comment on the monetary system today. I asked him whether he was aware of what happened in the United States in 1933. I asked him whether he was aware of the Bretton Woods Conference, the Bretton Woods Accord, and the International Monetary Fund. He said, no, I have no knowledge of this. So I asked whether I could share with him some information on the subject. He said, please go ahead. And when I told him of what the US government did in 1933 and what all other governments are going to do tomorrow, namely ban use of gold. You cannot keep gold, as though it's God. The government has now become God Almighty. A wicked thing. You cannot keep gold. You have to hand it over to the government. And if you don't do that, they're going to put you in prison. And when you hand it over, you're not handing it over to the government of the United States, you're handing it over to a private bank. There are many mysterious things that have happened in history. This is very mysterious. Hand over your gold to a private bank called the Federal Reserve, and you will be given $20 for every ounce of gold. This answer with you here in Trinidad and Tobago and in the rest of the world, so that tomorrow when they come to seize our gold, when they declare that it is illegal to keep gold at home, we can tell them, get lost. We form an alliance in Trinidad and Tobago to resist such an unjust act. An alliance of all those who stand for justice and integrity. A religious alliance of Hindus and Muslims and Christians. And in addition to that, all other people who do not follow any particular religion, but who wish to live lives of integrity and who like to stand up for justice and what is right. And with this alliance, we'll be able to respond to that godless agenda of those who want to seize our gold and make it illegal to keep gold at home. This was my meeting with Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli, and it is important for me to share with you his view because it's directly related to our subject of signs of the times, and we're dealing with money. Then I met with Ayatollah Hairi Shirazi, again in Qom. He was an older man, older than me. I'm 75, he must have been about 80. And this was a very charming man. He met me in his home, a humble home. I had to climb up the stairs. We sat down on the carpet. He's sitting next to me. He's holding my hands while talking. A very charming man. And but the surprising thing is that while he also had the classical Islamic education that you get from the Darul Uloom, he had no knowledge of modern monetary economics. Despite not having any knowledge of modern monetary economics, he still had the intelligence. If money does not circulate through the economy, then, said the Ayatollah, it will fail in its function and the body will now be endangered. That part of the body which is robbed of blood, because the money lender is lending money in order to remain free and immune from loss. He doesn't want to suffer loss. He's afraid of business. But having met with two of the most prominent ayatollahs in Iran, I realized that the world of Islamic scholarship, whether Sunni or Shia, it makes no difference. Someone has to teach them monetary economics so they can then apply the knowledge of monetary economics to understanding the world of money today from the viewpoint of the Quran and the Sunnah. I then went to deliver a lecture at the Murtada University in the Qom. And then after that I left Iran and flew back to Switzerland, and then drove from Geneva all the way to the north of Switzerland, close to Germany and Austria, to the canton of St. Gallen, where one of my dear students lives. He is Macedonian, originally Albanian. He's married to a Moroccan, and he's one of my very good students. He's translating my books to German, and I spent the weekend with him, teaching him, lecturing to him, mashallah. And then I returned to Trinidad on Thursday night, and here am I today. In my previous talks, in my last lecture, which was pre-recorded, I continued teaching the subject of what is money. And we have another 10 minutes today to continue that before we stop for questions and answers. What is money? And the answer, which came from the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, Allah's blessings be upon him, is that money in Islam is either gold and silver coins, or when gold and silver are in short supply, then money in Islam is articles of or commodities of food consumption which have a shelf life and which are in abundant supply in the market. And in the time of the Prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, they use wheat, they use barley, they use dates, they use salt, and by analogy I mentioned you can use rice, you can use sugar, etc. What is common to all of these, money, different forms of money, is that they all have intrinsic value. The value of the money is created by Allah, the Lord God, the one God, and the value of the money is inside the money. I mentioned what's the Christian view. If the Christian does not know, then please don't mind if I teach you your religion. Jesus, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, and I mentioned to you what is money for Jesus. When he comes back, as he is coming back, what will be the money that he will use? He's going to rule the world. So don't tell me if you're going to rule the world when you come back you will have no contact with money. Wake up, please. When Jesus comes back, what will money be? Is that not a subject that interests you? He went into the temple and he found the money lenders, the money changers ripping off the people. What happened? I mentioned to you, the Roman government was minting gold and silver coins with an emperor's head on it, which is a graven image which is prohibited. Does a Christian not know that? That graven images are prohibited? Do I have to remind you of that, my Christian brother and sister? And because this was money was haram, was illegal because you had a graven image in it, the temple in Jerusalem was minting its own money. What money was the temple in Jerusalem minting? Was it US dollars or euros? Will you not wake up? The temple in Jerusalem was minting gold and silver coins. Do I have to remind you of that? You have to excuse my frustration. I'm 75 years of age and I see so many people in the world today with no knowledge of what is money. None. The temple minted its own gold and silver coins with no graven images. And the money changers were ripping off the people when they changed their Roman money for temple money. So money in Christianity, money that Jesus recognized, that money that Jesus used, was gold and silver coins. This is money. And in the last lecture we pointed out that this money always has intrinsic value. What we did not do, and what we're now going to do in the few minutes we have left, is to now turn to the Quran and ask the question, what is money in the Quran? Is the Muslim interested in that question? I speak to my Muslim brothers and sisters, and I ask you, are you interested in getting the answer? If you say you are a people who follow Quran and Sunnah, that you are following the religion, well then am I allowed to tell you what is money in the Quran? Will you listen to me? Please forgive me. I am frustrated because mine has been a voice crying in the wilderness for 20 years now. They will not listen to me, they ban me, they say I'm a terrorist, they do all kinds of things. They locked the doors of the masjid to me in this country once upon a time. What is money in the Quran? May I teach you? In the Quran, Allah has the word dinar. Dinar, it is in the Quran. And what is a dinar in the Quran? It is money, it is a gold coin. Do you want to know more than that? That is money in the Quran, your Quran. Not USD and euros and TT dollars, a gold coin, the dinar. And in the Quran there is dirham. The word dirham is in the Quran. And a dirham is a silver coin. Yes, this is in the Quran. I can quote the verses for you, but we don't have the time. But you can do your homework and go in the Quran and find the word dinar. And go in the Quran and find the word dirham, a gold coin and a silver coin. Is that all that there is in the Quran? No, there's more. Surah Al-Kahf of the Quran is the surah or chapter par excellence of the end time. And in this surah there is the story of the young man who fled in the cave. Oh, you know the story. And they slept for 300 years. And at the end of 300 years, Allah woke them up. The Christians have the same story that we have in the Quran. The Jews have it also. It's not unique to the Quran. The sleepers of the cave. And after 300 years, these young men who had faith in God Almighty, and who therefore saw with the internal eye as well, they're hungry. So they sent one of them to go and buy some food, and they gave him some money. And this money would be adequate to buy some food. I ask you, what kind of money would it be that could buy some food 300 years ago, and 300 years later it could still buy the food? Couldn't be TT dollars, no? When I was a child, I went with my father to the market, Chagona's market, and I saw my father buying 100 oranges for $1 with my own eyes. Today, $1 cannot even buy one orange. So it couldn't be this bogus and fraudulent and utterly haram paper money that the young men in the cave had. It had to be money which would store its value successfully, and that's gold and silver. 100 years, 200 years, 1,000 years later, you could still use your gold and silver coins and it will still preserve the value. That's money in the Quran. Money in the Quran is money which can store its value for 300 years. And you can still buy whatever you could have bought with it. That's money. When will you wake up? Is it all the days in the Quran on money? No. In the same Surah Al-Kahf, let me give you one more before I end. In the same Surah Al-Kahf, there is the encounter between Musa alayhi salam, and Khidr alayhi salam. And in that encounter, they meet a town, and in that town, there was a man who was dying, and he was leaving some money for his children, and he wanted the money to be preserved until they grow up. So what did he do? He dug a hole, and he buried the money, and he built a structure on top of it, which is what we have to do. He built a wall. This is Surah Al-Kahf of the Quran. Your Quran is teaching you about money in the end time. I ask you, are you listening? Can you bury electronic money? Ah, yes. Can you bury electronic money to preserve your money? Aren't you interested in preserving your wealth? Or do you want to keep all your wealth in electronic money in an account in the bank? And when the bank wants, it can freeze your account, as Argentina did for every single bank account in the country. Or they can take money out of your account without your permission, as they did in Cyprus, as they did in Serbia. I don't know how many other places they did it. So no, you can't bury electronic money unless you have peanuts in your head. Can you bury paper money? If you bury paper money, it will rot. And if it doesn't rot, when you buried it, you could buy a camel, and when you take it out, you can't even buy a chicken. Is that money? No. So 3-4 times in the Quran, already 4 times in the Quran, we're being taught what is money. Money is money which you can bury, and for many, many years it will preserve its value. I pray that Allah may bless those who now study the subject of what is money in their scriptures, in the Vedas, in the Upanishads, in the Bible, in the Quran. And now wake up and let us come together as Christians, as Muslims, as Jews, all people who worship one God. And the end time would see drought and famine. And therefore the emphasis in the end time should be on food security rather than security of money. That's the question. It was posed by one of my students right here in Trinidad. And my answer to her was that yes, you are right, that in the end time there is going to be a very, very big problem of food security. There will be famine in the end time. The Prophet said, Allah's blessings be upon him, that Dajjal will cause 1/3 of the rain to stop falling 1 year. And 1/3 of the food which was produced would not be produced. And then in the second year, which is a second period of time, he stopped 2/3 of the rain from falling, which is why they have chemtrails in the sky. The aeroplanes, you know, with the chemtrails, to bring about weather change, so that rain will not fall. They say they're doing that for rain to fall. They're doing that to stop rain from falling, to control the climate. And then 2/3 of the crops will not grow. And in the end, in the last one, said the Prophet, no rain will fall, and then nothing will grow. And every hoofed animal will die. So there's going to be famine, and it is not going to be by accident, it's going to be by design. Famine, no food. What do you do at that time? Let me remind the Christian. Let me remind my Christian brother that when Jesus prayed and said, give us this day our daily bread, this is what he was talking about most of all. This is what he was talking about most of all. An end time when there will be no food. So yes, we must go to places where rain falls and there's land and produce our own food. In order to have some food security, we must also store food which can be stored, like grains and some. But in addition to that, a human being needs to buy and sell in order to survive. And barter has its limitations. No, you cannot do everything with barter. So the Lord God, Allah, bless him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, created us to buy and sell and created money. And so we need to have money. And if we do not have gold and silver coins, there are commodities of food consumption which can be used as money. You can use rice as money. So we must prepare ourselves for what is now happening in the world of money, in which all of mankind is being sucked into an electronic monetary system, which is a financial Guantanamo. Then came the question of, well, if I buy gold, should I buy it as coins or can I buy it as bullion, as gold bars? Well, let me first of all speak for Trinidad and Tobago, because I'm right here now. And I would like to suggest that the Christians and the Muslims and the Hindus of Trinidad should come together, their leaders should come together and form an alliance and a common position where we will get the machinery, we will buy the raw gold, and we buy the raw silver, and we would mint free of charge. You can bring your gold and silver to our mint, and we will mint it for you free of charge, because you cannot use gold bars to buy and sell. You need a specific amount of size and weight of a coin in order to buy and sell. And this can be done right here in Trinidad and Tobago. It can be done elsewhere in the world. Until such time, yes, you can buy gold bars. You can buy gold bullion, you can buy silver and store it. And whenever you can then have it minted as coins. Okay. The next question that was posed was security. If I buy, Sheikh, if I buy gold and silver and keep it at home, they're going to come and rob it from me. From the time they know I have gold and silver, they'll rob me. But one of the first functions of a government is to preserve security. Did you hear that? One of the very first functions of a government. Government are not the rulers, they serve the people. We put them there to serve us. And the first job they have to do is to establish security in the land. All right, we have a call on the phone. Go ahead.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Go ahead. All right, we lost that caller. One of the first functions of a government is to establish security.
Sheikh.
Hello, yes?
Yes. Welcome to Trinidad back again.
Thank you.
Very interesting trip. MashaAllah. I know of places in Trinidad that have abundance of land and water.
Yeah.
So if people are interested in acquiring this, they can contact me and I would take them to this place, inshallah.
So what
for
we
the
can
future
do,
to preserve organic food and water supply.
leave your name and number with IBN here.
Yes.
And those who are interested in getting land with water to be able to produce food, they can contact you, okay?
Yeah, inshallah.
All right, thank you for your call. One of the most important functions of a government is to establish security in the land. If a government cannot establish security and make life secure for people, that government should resign and go away and let someone else come to do the job. Money meltdown. So it's going to be a meltdown of all paper money when the Great War starts. This is my opinion. They want that money meltdown. Why? Because they want to bring about a transfer of power from the United States, or Pax Americana, to a third and last ruling state. The first was Britain with Pax Britannica. I have explained this subject in this book, Jerusalem in the Quran. You can get it today if you come to my launch of my program. They started the process with Pax Britannica, and with the British sterling pound as His Majesty the international currency. And then they moved from Pax Britannica to Pax Americana, and the US dollar replaced the sterling pound. When did this happen? It happened at Bretton Woods. It happened at Bretton Woods in 1944. And now we are living at that moment in time when Pax Americana is in irreversible decline. Everybody recognizes that. And nobody knows what's coming afterwards. What I'm saying to you from the perspective of Islamic eschatology, and I believe that Christian eschatology will say the same thing, and Jewish eschatology will say the same thing, and perhaps maybe Hindu eschatology, I have not read on the subject, that there is a third ruling state that is coming, and it is Israel wants to rule the world, and it will be Pax Judaica. So for Pax Judaica to replace Pax Americana, you need a new monetary system. And that new monetary system will be one currency for all of mankind, only one. And it'll be electronic or digital money. And the question is, will there be any electronic money after nuclear war? I said to myself, no, let me take off my hat. That is a really tough question. Will there be any electronic money after a nuclear war? And then somebody from Saudi Arabia came to visit me, and he said to me, Sheikh, you have underground cables, you have fiber optics. And after the nuclear war, they can still maintain a banking system using underground cables and so on. If the atmosphere is contaminated with nuclear radiation, but you could still have a monetary system of electronic money using underground cables and so on. And the world is going to be much smaller after nuclear war. Most of mankind will die. Those who fight in that war that is coming, our Prophet said, do you know what he said? It's there in Sahih Bukhari. I hope NATO is listening. Listen to the Prophet, NATO. He said that 99 out of every 100 who fight in that war that is coming, with the Christians call Armageddon, and we in Islam call the Malhama, the great war that is coming, 99 out of every 100 would be killed. So my answer to you is, yes, I believe that after the Great War you will still have an electronic monetary system, but we must try our best not to be sucked into that financial and monetary Guantanamo. No, we must try as best as we can to keep our money out of the banking system. If you keep your money in the banking system and they freeze your account because you have a bad name, don't come to me to complain. Or if they take money out of your account without your permission, as they have done, who was it? Somebody told me, yes, that they put $20,000 into their account, and then when they checked, it had become $15,000. So, I'm traveling on this trip, I got this information. And the bank, on the basis of authority from the government, took 5,000. Yes, and gone. And you can't get it back. Yes. If that happens to you, don't come to me to blame me or to complain to me, because I am advising you, do not keep your money in the bank. If you have to have a bank account, just keep the minimum that you need for paying bills or so. But take your money out of the bank account and keep the money not in paper, because paper is going to collapse tomorrow. Keep your money in gold and silver coins. And if you do not want to keep it as money, you keep it as wealth, you can buy land, you can buy animals. Okay? I believe we have to wrap up now. I have to drive back to San Fernando now for the launch of the book. And if you are, even if you're in Port of Spain, you have enough time to drive to San Fernando. Remember, this is Mucurapo Street. It is the masjid, or the British, I know they corrupt everything. They call it a mosque. I don't know where they got that word from, maybe Disneyland. But our word is masjid. And we have a parking lot on the right side and a parking lot on the left side, so you have security for your motor car. And do please come. If you're not there by 10:30, no problem. We should be beginning the program about 10:40, 10:45. And I look forward to seeing you there. Well, thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.